Hello, welcome to another BioanthroStudies video. I'm Vanessa Campanache, and this time I will be presenting a talk I did with Francisca Alves Cardoso. So in the last decade, we have seen the emergence of ethical discussions happening in biological and anthropological spheres. For example, one of the main ethical discussions happening is regarding the colonization effort, like the repatriation of human remains from indigenous individuals and minorities that never gave their consent to be part of collections. Ethics discussions also are related to the analysis of ancient DNA, the display of human remains, their images, and 3D digital replicas, among others. So in this presentation, we're going to explore the scientific publications trends regarding the topics of ethics and human remains. So data were retrieved from Dimensions in July to August 2022. Dimensions is an online publications database. We used the Boolean search query. So we look for the topics of ethics and human remains on titles and abstracts. The criteria we used can be seen on the slide. In terms of analysis, we look at the year of publication, the source data, terms co-occurrence on titles and abstracts, and also the country affiliation for researchers. Our query resulted in 181 publications published between 1990 and July 2022. 111 are from scientific journals. The remaining are books, chapters, and encyclopedias. What we see is in 2014 starts an upper trend in the number of publications regarding ethics, even though after 2014 there's an oscillation in the number of publications until there's a peak in the publications in 2019, where 43 manuscripts were published. But since then, we're seeing a downward trend in the publication of papers about ethics. A word cloud regarding terms used in titles and abstracts from 1919 to 2022, July, shows a big preponderance of archaeology and museum. So those terms appear quite frequently on titles and abstracts. Not essential, but appearing, there's also DNA, there's bioarchaeology, forensic, culture, collection, but then not as preponderant, so not as central. We have here indigenous and repatriation. We then decided to divide the analysis of word clouds into 3 time periods, or into the number of publications. So we have from 1919 to 2013, 2014 to 2018, and then from 2019 forwards. And we see that the trend changed a little bit. Archaeology is not as central, still appearing here. Still quite a frequent term, but not as central. And I think is, for example, here, indigenous, the word indigenous has a bit more frequency in 1919 to 2013, possibly associated with NACRA in the US. Regarding the frequency and percentage of publications per journal, we have 80 journals that publish between 2 to 1 publications on ethics. Then we have 9 journals that publish between 3 to 5 articles from 1990 to July 2022. 5 out of those 9 are in archaeology. Regarding the top 5 articles that were the most cited, so these 5 articles, they are in different topics, but the most cited, with 51 citations, we have one in ancient DNA, and in the other one in forensic anthropology. The first one in ancient DNA, from Prendergast and Solchuk, 2018, also has a high altmetric attention score. What this score evaluates is how widespread this article was in social media and the news. So we went to dimensions that provide us this information regarding the distribution of 159 tweets, because most of the information on social media that occurred was on Twitter. So we see that most of this information about this article occur mostly in North America, a bit as well in Europe, especially the UK, and 57% were that tweeted this article were members of the public. So this shows not only an interest in ancient DNA by the scientists, but also by the public. Then we look to see which papers were the top 5 in terms of altmetric attention score. So we have here the top 5 of them, and 3 of them are in ancient DNA. So we have this one, ethics of DNA research and human remains, on engagement with anthropology, and boots on the ground in African ancient DNA revolution. The other one is in paleopathology, and the last one in repatriation. So we also looked at the article with the highest altmetric attention score. We look at the information in dimensions regarding their geographic distribution of 294 tweets. And we see it's more widespread geographically, not so much in Africa and Middle East. And 55% of it were tweeted by members of the public, again showing quite a big interest on this topic by the public. Then we looked at the author's country's affiliation per document, and we have researchers from 44 countries publishing on ethics, but most of them are from researchers affiliated in the United States and the United Kingdom. In third place, we have Argentina, but it's quite a big difference from the United States and the United Kingdom. So what this study shows is since 2014, we see a relatively increase in the number of papers, culminating in 2019. But since then, we're observing a downward trend in the publication of articles about ethics, which is quite surprising, because we're seeing that this topic is being brought up very central in a lot of scientific events. So what possibly is happening is, even though there's a boom in scientific events about ethics and talk about ethics, those talks and webinars are not being translated into publications at the same rate. Then they also show a trend to be ethics to be mostly focused within archaeology and ancient DNA. Ancient DNA was also a topic of high interest by the public. Although researchers came from 44 countries, affiliated in 44 countries, most of those publications are happening in the United States and the UK, researchers from those countries. Therefore, there is a need for a widespread publication on ethics from researchers from other countries as well, affiliated in other countries. Also, there's a need for journals to to feature more papers on ethics on their journals. Thank you.